You clearly awaken the Drunken Sword Immortal System, where you get stronger by drinking alcohol. Yet you transmigrated into a sect that prohibits drinking, and all disciples are forbidden from going down the mountain unless they receive a task. Until this time, you received the opportunity to go down the mountain for procurement, so you got completely hammered. After returning to the sect, you actually crawled into the first senior sister's bed. What's more, you defeated the Sword Feather Peak Master who was at the Great Ascension stage with a single sword strike. This matter instantly alarmed the Empress Sect Master, Leng Yeqing. With a wave of her hand, a powerful spiritual F-force flew out, effortlessly dispelling the alcohol from your body in an instant. Under the gaze of countless eyes, you were forcefully awakened. Groggily opening your eyes, you sat up, hesitated for a while, scratched your head, and cautiously asked, "What's happening? Why am I here?" "I remember having a dream just now. In the dream, I seem to have gained a system in the Great River Sword." You quickly checked your mental state and only then discovered that deep in your soul, there was a great river surging from the horizon. Excited, you quickly checked the system status. The Great River Sword had 2 states. If you didn't drink, you would be just like others, a small foundation establishment cultivator. But if you were drunk, relying on the divine sword intent of the drunken god, you could control the Great River Sword to slay even transcending tribulation stage experts. At the same time, amid everyone's chatter, you finally recalled just how crazy you had been. While your mind was racing, Jianming Peak, the Sword Feather Peak Master, hurriedly arrived before Gu Yuan, examining the injuries of his disciple. Then, Jianming Peak spoke in a deep voice. "Hall Master Gu Yuan's meridians are completely severed, and his injuries are too severe. He's utterly crippled." As he spoke, a cold glint flashed in Jianming Peak's eyes, and he looked coldly at you. "I believe this boy has repeatedly violated the rules of Nine Swords Mountain, and by crippling a core disciple of the sect, it's sufficient to prove that this boy's nature is vicious. According to sect rules, he should be punished severely by impalement to set an example." As soon as these words came out, everyone gasped. This was a death sentence by 1,000 arrows, and then burial in the sword tomb. This was the most severe rule of Nine Swords Mountain, generally reserved for traitors of the sect, or even for the most heinous disciples. "Peak Master Zhan, this matter cannot be generalized." Baiyu suddenly spoke up. The cause and effect of this matter were witnessed by all disciples. If Gu Yuan hadn't acted with murderous intent, even using the shadowless sword in the end, he wouldn't have ended up like this. If someone wanted to kill Peak Master Zhan, would Peak Master Zhan resist? Or would you let them slaughter you? Even if Gu Yuan was wrong to force his way into your Sword Feather Peak, he didn't deserve this. This boy is ruthless and must not be kept alive. Jianming Peak roared with thunderous rage. Moreover, who doesn't know that Gu Yuan is from the ancient clan of the Central Continent? Now that his meridians are severed at Nine Swords Mountain, I'm afraid even the sect master won't be able to explain this to the ancient clan. Meanwhile, Empress Leng Yeqing's expression was as calm as an ancient well, and she said indifferently, "Are you done?" Jianming Peak was slightly stunned and subconsciously said, "I'm done." Leng Yeqing nodded slightly, her expression remaining unchanged. She first glanced at you. Then, with a wave of her hand, a golden light landed in Jianming Peak's hand. "This is the sect's Scarlet Blood Flow Pearl Pill. It can help Gu Yuan rebuild his meridians, and his cultivation will not be affected." Jianming Peak was completely dumbfounded. The sect's treasure, the Scarlet Blood Flow Pearl Pill, could cure all injuries, with the miraculous effect of reviving the dead and restoring flesh to bones. This was an Emperor-grade pill. Only 3 of them existed in the entire Nine Swords Mountain. Unexpectedly, the sect master Empress had casually bestowed it to Gu Yuan. This was not just about rebuilding meridians. The trace of Emperor-grade aura contained in the pill could drive any cultivator crazy. Your brows also furrowed slightly. You looked up at the sect master Empress in the air. You couldn't help but be moved. Was the sect master Empress trying to exonerate you? Leng Yeqing no longer paid attention to the stunned crowd. Instead, she turned her gaze to Liu Yunyan. "Regarding Chen Changfeng's offense against you, what do you think should be done?" Liu Yunyan hesitated for a moment, her voice soft. "How about just letting it go? I think junior brother Changfeng was probably just drunk and unintentional." As soon as these words fell, the disciples erupted, crawling into someone's bed, and they just let it go? This is a public dog killing, and the absolute kill kind. In the instant of everyone's shock, you slowly spoke. "Senior Sister Liu, I have offended you today. Another day, I will definitely formally apologize to Senior Sister Liu and take full responsibility." Liu Yunyan's pretty face blushed, and she opened her mouth but didn't speak. "And Peak Master Zhan, today's matter was indeed because this disciple drank too much. I did not intentionally hurt senior brother Gu Yuan when drunk." Chen Changfeng continued. Leng Yeqing's calm voice sounded again. "Since the person involved is no longer pursuing the matter, then let this matter end here. Everyone, disperse." Hearing Leng Yeqing's words, Jianming Peak's eyes twitched, and he said in disbelief, "Sect Master, just let it go? Is it just because this boy has talent that he can do whatever he wants?" Leng Yeqing frowned almost imperceptibly. First, the sword questioning assembly is imminent. This seat does not want to create more trouble because of other matters. Second, Liu Yunyan is no longer pursuing it. This seat has already bestowed Gu Yuan an Emperor pill. Why must Peak Master Zhang be so persistent? According to Sect rules, those who trespass the Sword Feather Peak must have their cultivation crippled. Are you going to cripple all these disciples? Third, I set the rules. Do I need to ask your permission even if I decide to let it go? Leng Yeqing couldn't vent her anger in front of so many people, so she could only fume inwardly. Is Zhang Yunxing stupid or what? It is true that Chen Changfeng crippled Gu Yuan, but this also proves that this boy's strength is far superior to Gu Yuan. At such a young age, he can be described as an unparalleled monster, not to mention within this state, but even in the entire Purple Continent. How many are there like him? Faced with Leng Yeqing's icy eyes, Zhang Yunxing opened his mouth, but no words came out in the end. All right, various Peak Masters, take your disciples back. By you are responsible for the aftermath of the Sword and Wind Peaks. As for Chen Changfeng, you come with me. Having said that, Leng Yeqing disappeared into the air. You looked at Liu Yunyan apologetically. Also, as a thank you for not pursuing the matter, Jianming Peak was the main peak of Nine Swords Mountain. This so-called Jianming Peak was only inhabited by the Empress Sect Master, making it the quietest place in all of Nine Swords Mountain. Entering the palace, you felt a strong spiritual energy. You had already guessed the Sect Master Empress's purpose in bringing you here. You calmed yourself and respectfully reported to the Sect Master, the sword that this disciple comprehended just now is the Great River Sword. Where did the sword come from? The sword tomb in the back mountain. Leng Yeqing's brows furrowed. The sword tomb in the back mountain is full of abandoned swords discarded by Nine Swords Mountain over thousands of years. Yet, you were able to find such a sharp sword there. A small foundation establishment cultivator was actually able to unleash the power of a transcending tribulation stage with a discarded sword. This was indeed a bizarre matter. Very well. Leng Yeqing waved her hand and spoke softly, her expression becoming slightly serious. There are only 10 days until the sword questioning assembly. During this time, you don't need to return to Sword Coming Peak. Speaking of which, Leng Yeqing's eyes flickered slightly. During this period, you will follow me. It's also good for me to teach you some things. You were stunned for a moment. What was going on? Was she going to have you live on Jianming Peak? After all, only the Empress Sect Master herself lived on Jianming Peak. If you were to live there, it would be very inconvenient, and it wouldn't sound good if word got out. Leng Yeqing was silent for a moment, then looked up at you and inexplicably said, "Do you know what the sword questioning assembly means to Nine Swords Mountain?" Chen Changfeng's heart stirred slightly. Was she about to share some secrets with him? You said in a deep voice, "The sword questioning assembly represents honor, the honor of Nine Swords Mountain." Leng Yeqing nodded, took a deep breath. The reason why Nine Swords Mountain is so revered is because this place is the last bastion of sword cultivation inheritance in the entire Purple Continent. 2,000 years ago, for some unknown reason, there was a break in the way of the sword, resulting in fewer and fewer sword cultivators on the Purple Continent. In fact, the sword questioning assembly also represents the inheritance of the sword Dao. In fact, if it weren't for my friendship with the ancient clan of the Central Continent, and the fact that Gu Jian and Gu Yuan, the two young disciples, came to rebuild Nine Swords Mountain, it might have already been devoured by some ancient clan forces. No way, Sect Master. Isn't Nine Swords Mountain protected by you? You're the Empress. You didn't expect the incredibly sacred Nine Swords Mountain in the eyes of mortals to have fallen so low. Leng Yeqing gazed out the window with deep eyes and sighed. The so-called Empress is just a title given by mortals. It's just a title earned for breaking through the transcending tribulation stage. Do you know how vast the Purple Continent is? How many inheritances, and how many so-called ancient emperors are there in the mortal world? Across all the 9 provinces, 4 seas, and 8 wilderness, now you have not only comprehended sword intent but also a sword domain. If nothing unexpected happens, you will definitely be able to cultivate to the level of an ancient emperor in the future. Then you will understand everything. Your expression also gradually became serious. You originally thought that Nine Swords Mountain was already at the top of the Purple Continent, but now it seemed that it was just a big fish in the small pond of Yun State. Also, Leng Yeqing took a deep breath and said, "Among the 5 major sects in Yun State, you must be particularly careful of the Mountain and River Sect. The feud between Nine Swords Mountain and the Mountain and River Sect has lasted for nearly 2,000 years, all for the sake of contending for the title of the #1 sect in Yun State. For 2,000 years, many experts from the Mountain and River Sect have continuously hunted down geniuses from Nine Swords Mountain in secret, cutting off Nine Swords Mountain's future. Even the fall of the previous immortal emperor of Nine Swords Mountain is inseparable from the Mountain and River Sect. Now that you have comprehended sword intent, it means that as long as you don't suffer an untimely death, you will definitely be able to reach the immortal emperor realm in the future. The Mountain and River Sect will definitely not let a Nine Swords Mountain disciple who is destined to become an immortal emperor go. Since this was related to your future, you had to perk up your spirits and nodded lightly. I understand, Sect Master. What should I do? Leng Yeqing's expression became serious. and then her eyes flickered slightly, and she said, "Although the Sword Questioning Assembly is organized by our Nine Swords Mountain, there will be experts from all races coming to challenge over the years. The Mountain and River Sect will not be an exception. Therefore, are you willing to represent this seat in this Sword Questioning Assembly?" Changfeng is willing, but I don't know if I'm capable. After all, I'm only at the foundation establishment stage, and my sword intent and sword domain are sometimes effective and sometimes not. It doesn't matter if you are not ready. Leng Yeqing laughed. During this period, I will personally guide you. If you need anything, just ask me. As long as it's within the resources that this seat can obtain, I will satisfy you. You nodded, thinking that resources were not necessary, as long as you could drink alcohol. Leng Yeqing smiled. "All right, now let me see your sword." You nodded, and with a flip of your hand, you summoned the Great River Sword. The moment the Great River Sword appeared, a powerful sense of oppression instantly descended. Leng Yeqing's eyes couldn't help but narrow. The Great River Sword. The sword was 2 feet and 1 inch long, close to transparent in color, and the handle was engraved with a white dragon pattern, making it look incomparably majestic. "Very good." Leng Yeqing was moved, as if she had made some kind of decision. She said softly, "Changfeng, are you willing to become my disciple?" Hearing this, you were delighted. Becoming a disciple of the Empress Sect Master was not about fame and honor, but instead, you were thinking if, after this, you could drink openly and honestly. If you became Leng Yeqing's disciple, who would dare to stop you if you were to drink? Changfeng is willing, Master. You immediately bowed deeply to Leng Yeqing and then asked, "Are there any matters I need to pay attention to as a disciple?" Leng Yeqing showed a hint of satisfaction on her face. "There is nothing you need to pay attention to. You only need to keep one thing in mind. You must not contradict your master. You must not interrupt without reason, and you must not deceive or play tricks on your master." 3 days later, on Sword Feather Peak, Liu Yunyan looked towards the direction of Jianming Peak. "Ever since you went to Jianming Peak with the Empress Sect Master, you hadn't come down." Lin Xiao, standing behind her, took all of this in and had a thoughtful look on her face. "Senior sister, you have been standing there for almost an hour now. Are you cultivating the sword? Are you waiting for that person to come and apologize to you with a thorn bush on his back?" Hearing the reminder from behind, Liu Yunyan's eyes flickered, and she weakly said, "What nonsense are you talking about? I'm just absorbing the morning qi. He hasn't returned my jade hairpin. That's a keepsake from my mother." Liu Yunyan avoided the main point and snorted, forcefully changing the topic. Lin Xiao had seen through Liu Yunyan's little thoughts and couldn't help but clear her throat. Then, find an opportunity to ask him for it. "Junior brother Chen likes alcohol. If you brought a jar of good wine with you, maybe you could have a more in-depth conversation." Liu Yunyan bit her lip and hesitated for a moment before turning to walk down the mountain. Inside the main hall of Jianming Peak, you stood on the roof, gazing at the brightly lit Guangling city below. You were secretly miserable. You had miscalculated. If you had known, you would have bought more alcohol the last time you went down the mountain. Now, being trapped on Jianming Peak without alcohol, and with your foundation establishment cultivation, you couldn't even break through the protective barrier set up by your master. Your master had told you that she was going to Guangling City to receive the forces from various races participating in the Sword Questioning Assembly, and you didn't know when she would be back. Just as you were pondering how to get down the mountain, suddenly, the barrier vibrated, and a white figure drifted down from the mountain. You were overjoyed. The next second, you jumped off the main hall, heading straight towards Liu Yunyan. "Senior Sister Liu, I originally wanted to come to apologize in person, but the Empress Sect Master wouldn't let me go down the mountain. You said first, taking the initiative to apologize. I offended you that day when I was drunk. Thank you for your generosity. Senior Sister, in the future, if Senior Sister Liu needs anything, come to me and I will definitely not refuse." "I didn't say I forgive you," Liu Yunyan said, glancing at you with a slightly flushed face. She thought that this junior brother looked quite stable, not like a playboy. "Anyway, I came this time specifically to get back my things. Return my jade hairpin." You were stunned for a moment. Could it be that Senior Sister Liu came to you just for the jade hairpin? Shouldn't she be scolding you or giving you some kind of punishment? Now, Liu Yunyan's pretty face became even redder. She completely misunderstood. Thinking that you were questioning her about only coming for the jade hairpin, Liu Yunyan couldn't help but recall that scorching heat in the bed. She lowered her head in shame and anger. "Why? Don't you want to return it? I heard you like alcohol. I can trade it for the jade hairpin. That jade hairpin is a keepsake left by my mother." As she spoke, Liu Yunyan took out a jar of fine wine from her interspatial ring. "The Empress Sect Master is not here for these few days, so we can secretly drink a little. But you must not say that this wine was given to you by me." Your eyes instantly lit up. It was exactly what you wanted. This Senior Sister Liu was simply your savior. Liu Yunyan's pretty face turned completely red in an instant. If you like that jade hairpin, I can also give it to you." Seeing Liu Yunyan's nervous and shy look, it was your turn to panic. Senior Sister Liu was not usually like this. Did she misunderstand? No. You had to take a sip of wine to calm yourself down. Thinking this, you flipped your hand and a burst of sword energy shot out. bang directly opening the jar of wine in Liu Yunyan's arms. The aroma of the wine spread everywhere. Your eyes instantly lit up. You couldn't wait to come closer to Liu Yunyan, leaned in close to her chest, and sniffed delicately. Closing your eyes, you said in a drunken voice, "So fragrant." Liu Yunyan was stunned for a moment. Her face instantly turned red, all the way to her ears. "What's fragrant? The wine, or is it me? Why are you so close? What kind of wine is this? It smells so good." You couldn't help but ask. Liu Yunyan was slightly shaken. "It's a 100-year vintage daughter red, just opened today." You couldn't help but praise it. The next second, you took a direct sip of the daughter red. The taste was mellow and rich upon entering, sweet and refreshing after drinking it. What a good wine. I have never tasted such good wine before. Congratulations, host. You have been drunk twice and have comprehended the Peach Blossom Sword God Sword Wings. You are rewarded with 12 flying swords, including the Xuanjia Qing Mei, Tai, etc. The host's level has increased to the peak of Foundation Establishment, and you have comprehended the Peerless Sword move Flying Sword 12. When Flying Sword 12 is combined with the Divine Sword Wings of the Drunken God, you can slay even an immoral emperor. In an instant, you felt the chi and blood in your body surge to the extreme, like a vast river surging endlessly. This surging power quickly filled your entire body. The meridians, which had been established, also became thicker and more substantial. You suddenly laughed maniacally to the sky. You grabbed the daughter red again and drank it like water. After the hearty drink, you felt the intoxication rushing in, and your face flushed. With a drunken, peach blossom-like gaze, you looked at the completely stunned Liu Yunyan. "Come on, Sister Yuyan, drink with me." Liu Yunyan's eyes widened. Had he transformed again? You even addressed her as Sister Yuyan directly. Before Liu Yunyan could react, a powerful sword intent once again uncontrollably released from your body, forcing Liu Yunyan back several steps. You were already drunk. You held your fingers like a sword and began to speak nonsensically. "Good wine." The sword rises. Misty peaks, from afar. I see mortal smoke, fallen sword chi. A loud buzzing sound of sword chi rang out. The autumn leaves on the entire Jianming Peak flew up in this sound of sword chi. Liu Yunyan was shocked again. This seemed a bit different from the previous sword intent. However, she was afraid that the noise was too loud and would alert others on the peak. So she said worriedly, "Junior brother, you're already drunk. Don't drink anymore." You smiled dashingly and then moved closer to Liu Yunyan. Brows like snow, rocks with peach blossoms, clear water and green tea. As the beautiful scene fell, Liu Yunyan's pretty face instantly turned red. The scent of a man mixed with the fragrance of daughter red filled her nostrils, making her feel confused. Liu Yunyan was instantly dumbfounded. She didn't even know if her heart was resisting or welcoming. "You're drunk, junior brother. How about Sister Liu have a drink with me under the moonlight?" Your eyes were full of peach blossom magic. When drunk, one can forget all worries. Liu Yunyan's face was flushed red, and she firmly refused, saying calmly, "Do you want me to violate the sex ban with you? That's absolutely impossible." An hour later, on the roof of the main hall of the sect, you held a wine jar in your hand, inviting the moon in the sky. "After drinking, I sing wildly and let myself go. I won't think about any idle affairs before me." The drunk Liu Yunyan sat beside you and also sang drunken city tunes. Her gaze became even more dazed as she looked at your undisguised gaze. The atmosphere suddenly became ambiguous at this moment. Liu Yunyan's heart beat faster and faster, and she couldn't help but swallow. You looked up at the clear moon and the sparse stars in the sky. It seemed as if you were looking through the moonlight. All the memories of your previous life and this life surged into your mind. Once the sea has been seen, no other water will suffice. Except for the Wushan clouds, none other will do. You laughed playfully at the sky. "I've already seen enough of this moonlight." Then you pointed your sword at the moon. "Carrying my sword in the mortal world, I'm already going crazy. With wine, I can reach the heavens." The Peach Blossom Sword God Sword Wings soared into the sky. A gust of wind, mixed with a bit of coolness, surged from inside the mountain, blowing through the Nine Swords wind, with autumn in full view. "Don't you see the clouds coming?" Thick clouds came surging in, covering the sky bit by bit. Thunder rumbled above the clear sky. Even in Guangling City, which was dozens of miles away, you could hear the sound. At the same time, Empress Leng Yeqing, who was in the city lord's mansion of Guangling City and was meeting with the forces of various sects, and the 8 peak masters of the Sword Peaks, all felt a tremor at the same time. "Don't panic. Chen Changfeng is currently on Jianming Peak. That should be his aura." Leng Yeqing's aura was somewhat heavy. His sword intent has changed again. What kind of sword is it that can have such a vast and magnificent sword intent? Could it be the sword of an immortal emperor? Leng Yeqing's eyes fluctuated. "I can't wait any longer. The 8 peak masters stay here to entertain the honored guests from various sections. I have to return to Nine Swords Mountain." In the courtyard, after 1 hour, after releasing the Peach Blossom Sword, the Divine Sword Wings, you fell into a drunken stupor, lying flat on your back on the roof, sound asleep. Liu Yunyan was also completely drunk and unconscious, leaning against you and fell asleep, murmuring words. However, they felt nothing. At this moment, A beam of white light came from the sky. In the blink of an eye, a familiar figure appeared before you on the glazed tiles of the main hall. Seeing the state of the two of you, Yeqing couldn't help but frown. With a wave of her hand, she dispelled the alcohol from Liu Yunyan's body and woke her up. Empress Sect Master. Liu Yunyan was startled. She instantly sobered up and said, Yunyan knows she was wrong. She shouldn't have trespassed Jianming Peak with wine. Please, Empress Sect Master, don't blame my junior brother.